say if you go in for a new job, you train them in editing videos, in filmmaking, and you put all that effort in, you give them that lesson, all the practical tips and steps of what to do, how to do it. When it comes to then carrying out that work, and now they're sat in front of their laptop, and now they've got to apply that lesson that you've given them. Instead, they start playing games, and you're like, what are you doing? Hello? And they're like, well, this is what you do with a laptop. I'm playing my games. And he's like, no, you meant to do what I've taught you, but there's not even a thought to do that. But you're thinking, no, wasn't that everything we did? Wasn't that work? You're like, no, that was the training for work. It's so easy for that to happen when you take something just as a religion and not as a path. We end up tricking ourselves into thinking that, well, I'm done. I've done my bit towards God, towards spirituality. That no, what you've done is you've just sat down and you've listened to the lesson, and now you've got to go and do it. Welcome to the Japji Sahib Podcast. In this episode, we're going to be covering the 15th stanza that Guru Nanak Dev Ji have blessed us with. What we're going to be focusing on in this body is liberation, is freedom. And if we start with that question, that is liberation, or let's use the word freedom, is it possible to be free, completely free, whilst we're still living, whilst we're still in this body? Or is that just an illusion? Is that a myth that there is no destination that we can actually reach whilst we're still in this body? Or is there a light where there's freedom sitting for us whilst we're still here within this body, living amongst this world and today's world? So I'll put this question forward first to whatever comes to the mind of Bhikh Singh, that's been joining us every week, that just in a few words, what comes to mind? What does it mean to be free for you, Veerji? So first of all, Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Without being technical.
Yes.
Yeah, so straight off the bat, I'm thinking, you're free from your ego and the...
What would it mean for you personally to be free? What would that look like for you day to day?
I'd be connected to Vaheguru inside in every moment. So whatever comes at us, you're able to approach it with that lens and that connection. So everything just is in place.
What do you think would change? Like, what are some of the main points that come to your mind that you think that wouldn't be there anymore then? That wouldn't be a thing anymore?
Suffering. So there may be suffering in that worldly sense, but it wouldn't be experienced as a suffering. So there'd be an inner bliss. If you're free. As
in, you mean there might be suffering in a worldly sense, and what you're saying there is that certain circumstances of life will inevitably happen. They will fold out.
Yes.
People will come into your life, leave, whether that be death or whatever means or whatever reason. And so things are always going to be happening around us, and even to us, to our body too. And, but you wouldn't suffer what is going on, you're saying?
Yeah, because you can't escape hukum, which we've discussed in detail in previous episodes, that, those things are there as a sensor. It's a sensor for your body or for your mind to say, oh, let's deal with this situation, practically, proactively. The way that you experience that and the way that you treat that situation, if it's done with the connection with Vaheguru, then it's approached with bliss, whatever the situation. And
then that ultimately is freedom. So I think it's important for us to look at in more detail what are some of those things that Guru Sahib is bringing to light for us that we'll become free from. Because in this moment, we might not even realize the imprisonment that we are in. We might not even realize what it is that is stopping us from truly being free from suffering and living in that state of bliss. So if we take a few examples, there's not from the slok, but there's a shabad where Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji saying that Ustad Ninda Dau Tyage Khoje Pad Nirbana. And in this, Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji saying in this shabad that Ustad Ninda Dau Tyage Khoje Pad Nirbana, and is referring to here, Khoja is when you're yearning and when you are longing and you're seeking for this state of nirvana. And nirvana is referring to when you are free from your desires. And it's always important to understand when we say free from desires, that in this life, whilst we have this body, it's because of the energy of desires that we're able to live. But when Guru Sahib talk about being free from it, because even if we look at Gurbani like Sacha Naam Mera Adharo, Sach Naam Adhar Mera, Jin Pukha Sab Gavaiyan. And then in the second part, it says that Kar Shant Sukh Man Ai Vasya Jin Ichha Sab Pujaiya. So here it says that you have now, the translation here, it says that it has fulfilled all my desires. And it's not that it fulfills us in the sense of that it gives us everything we're desiring. That wouldn't be an accurate way of looking at it. But what it's saying is Jin Ichha Sab Pujanya. Pujanya here means when those Ichha now, those desires, you have now become conscious where those desires aren't happening to you unconsciously, where you're not even aware. There's desires that are running your life. There's desires, these wants are creating my destiny, and I'm unconscious to that. But Ichha Sa Pujanya means that now I'm already fulfilled. So I don't expect these wants to fulfill me because now I'm fulfilled. Yeah. So now from that place, from a conscious place, I can use the energy from desires to just get certain things and tasks done in this world. Yeah. Because without that, if you look at it again, desire comes from this neutral energy, and this neutral energy which is helping us to live. Yeah. Because without that energy, we wouldn't be able to get out of bed and even brush our teeth. So that is what is helping us to even get to that point. Even get to the point of being able to sit up when we initially start our day and make it to the shower room. Yeah. But often when they become something that's what we identify with, and that's where we're living from that place. Yeah. And it's just making our life go this way, that way, just living from a place of wants. And Ichha Sa Pujanya. So if we come back now to Ustad Ninda Dau Tyage Khoje Pad Nirbana, and that's what we're seeking. We're seeking that state where we're completely conscious. And we know that we are complete, we're whole. We don't need anything external can't add on to us, can't give us any more. And then we're in control.
You made a video about this, Vijay. from the other side of it, that under Dishna Ag hai, Manamukh Bhukh na jaye. Remember we went on the Clent Hills.
Yes.
Is it okay to be ambitious? Ambitious.
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 Yeah.
Is it okay to be ambitious? Because otherwise, if it is desire from that other side of it, not from the controlled conscious side, it's described as a fire. And for that person who follows their mind, Manamukh Bhukh na jaye, their hunger won't go, will it?
No, because what's happening is giving whatever we're then doing in life is to try and satisfy ourselves instead. But that can never then become service. And that drive will be so difficult for it to become completely righteous. Because then there's always, well, what's in it for me then? Well, if it's not giving me this, then what's the point? Even though it might be helping so many people, but then that question could always come up. That, okay, well, even if it's helping so many people, what I'm doing, what's the point? If it's not giving me something back. Yeah. So that is Khoje Pad Nirbana. That is that, it's khojing, it's seeking for that true liberation from those desires, thinking those wants are going to complete me. And a part of that, what the Guru has brought to light are these two things, and that's ustat and ninda. Yeah. So becoming free is also becoming free from praise and slander. When we look at it from that perspective now, we might have thought we're free, but now when the Guru brings that to light for us, it might help us. It will help us to look at, I'm not as free as I thought. Because of the definition I'm giving of free might be because I think I'm allowed to make my own decisions. If now I weren't allowed to eat a certain something when I was a certain age, and now I can do what I want, I can eat what I want. Yeah, my parents didn't used to let me have a can of Coke or whatever, and now I can, so I'm free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to hide. I used to hide sweets under my pillow.
Yeah.
And wait till parents put me to bed, and then eat them at night time. It just reminded me.
Yeah, I remember when I was similar to that. I was really young, and weren't allowed to drink fizzy drinks, but I would run down in the middle of the night and go and have a can of Sprite or something, and then everyone's wondering, how's he putting all of this weight on? You know, it doesn't help when you're drinking something so sugary in the middle of the night. Or, you know, like the Guru says that mitha karke khaye ka gauda upja sadh, that today you could be loving the pleasure, the sweetness of that pleasure, and then it turns on you, and it's like, then there's a bitter, you know, all that weight then I ended up gaining, and then you feel unfit, you know, I was getting out of breath more. So anyway, it's not another story in the sense it's what we're talking about. When we hear this word liberation and freedom, what is it? How are we defining that? What definition are we giving it in today's world? And I think it will be different for people depending on their cultures, backgrounds, their age. But that isn't freedom. Just because now you can make your own choice. And that's a type of freedom. But that's not the freedom and the liberation the Guru's talking about. Yeah. For some people that will be important to be able to have that choice. So that's more of reaching a place in your life where you've got a choice. Yeah. So that would be different, freedom. But here, the Guru's talking about ustan ninda do tyage. That when you are able to renounce and walk away, that's freedom. But if you think about today, there's a lot of talk about, people talk about the need of validation. And they don't talk about it from that perspective of saying that I need validation. They're saying that I've realized through therapy or some way or another that I'm someone that seeks validation. And it seems to be that I'm needing validation in this moment of life. But it's not something that you want to keep. It's something they're working on to go beyond. And this ustat will come within that as well. So validation will come from praise within the kind of umbrella term of praise. So just for being a certain way, always feeling that need, that whether I've got a certain skill or something, I need to be validated for that. And I need to be reminded, oh, you know what, that was so amazing, what you just did, the way you just spoke. And from reading certain studies that the Guru's talking about here, where this won't serve us, being in this way, because that's an imprisonment now. We're living in that box. So now I've given that key of my emotions to other people, and I'm waiting. I'm waiting for you to tell me how amazing of a speaker that I am, for me to now feel good about myself. There's nothing wrong with having feedback, is different. But when you're now reliant on that is now a complete bondage, stuck, not liberated at all. Even there's studies that show that instead of that even with children, for them to do well and better in their education, and whether they're working towards an exam or whatever it may be, and this will continue then even in other aspects of life for adults too, that when they start to praise that child for being amazing, so say if they've got a certain result from a test, and you tell them that how amazing they are for getting that result, there's been studies what have shown they are more likely to do less as well on their next exam, because it kind of gives them, what happens is, for one, it's an ego booster. Right? The I am starts to kick in. Look how amazing I am at doing this. And then instead of, it's not giving them confidence, but it's boosting their ego, and then it will give birth to arrogance as well. They start looking down at other people. But whilst you're so busy at doing that, what the studies show was that they don't put the same amount of effort in anymore. And because they're not putting the same amount of effort in, they're not getting the results. Yeah. So praise literally will take you away from progression. Even if you look at growth mindset, if you look at the studies of that, it will show similar things. And I found that was very interesting in what Guru Sahib is saying to us. And obviously Guru Sahib is telling us because it takes us into the ego and then into the vices. So
what do you tell your children then?
Tell them you're a flop. No, it's a joke, bro. No, so what they say is that you, and what we will read in the studies, but because we're going to look at it from the Gurmat lens, yeah, so we're going to add something to it, to what they've said. And what was shown to them was that you acknowledge, or they've used the word praise, and let's just use the word acknowledge. You acknowledge their effort. So if you let them know that it was so amazing that the effort that had gone into preparing for this test has paid off. So you're letting them know it's because of the effort. Yeah. And that way it doesn't give you an ego boost, but that alone is still not enough from Gurmat perspective. And I'm not, and in no shape, form, or manner am I belittling, like the way what these studies are saying, because so those are accurate. They're showing that's how it works, and then they will do a lot better if you're praising their efforts. What Guru Sahib does is adds to that, and they'll say that, okay, I'm going to put this effort in, but even the strength for the effort has got to come from you. So there's an ardas in Gurbani where it says that Uddam karo karavaho thakur. So if you just look at even the way that's written, it's amazing. Uddam karo here, it's first person in saying that, okay, I make the effort, but karavaho, you, Thakur, provide me with that strength. Or it's not even saying provide, the word strength isn't used here. So to be more accurate, what's said here is karavaho Thakur. But it's you that is going to cause me to put that effort in as well. So what happens there is there's no space for the I left. And that is the difference of when you've got a guru. Yeah. So I think we were talking about this before, and I asked you a question that there's some people that are so self-aware and that have got some amazing values in their lives, and often you see that they're such beautiful human beings they're doing, and it's amazing how they are living so consciously. And what the Guru does is, Guru talks to us about values, which are the virtues and the divine qualities. But what a Guru does on top of all of that is, doesn't leave any ego hanging in there if we follow it though. And that's what we were saying before. There's times we become so content in just doing our part in the morning, reading Gurbani, going to a Kirtan program. And in our mind, it's so... What happens is that we could end up tricking ourselves into believing. And a Gursikh that I used to do Sangat with many years ago, about 10 years ago, he would talk about this. And we end up tricking ourselves into thinking that, well, I'm done. I've done my bit towards God, towards spirituality. And he would say that, no, what you've done is you've just sat down and you've listened to the lesson, and now you've got to go and do it. That's like saying that, so say if you go in for a new job and then they train you for that job. So say if somebody comes into you now, you train them in editing videos, in filmmaking, and you put all that effort in, you give them that lesson, all the practical tips and steps of what to do, how to do it. And then when it comes to when it comes to then carrying out that work, and now they're sat in front of their laptop, and now they've got to apply that lesson that you've given them. Instead, they start playing games, and they turn around and you're like, what are you doing? Hello? And they're like, well, this is what you do with a laptop. I'm playing my games. And he's like, no, you're meant to do what I've taught you. Yeah. But there's not even a thought to do that. But you're thinking, no, wasn't that everything we did? Wasn't that work? You're like, no, that was the training for work. And there's such a, it's so easy for that to happen when you take something just as a religion and not as a path, where you think you've done your part for that religion. And this, I hear as well, some people say, well, yeah, I've got to do my part for my guru to make him happy. It's like, what? No. I was listening to somebody speaking, and who was not a Sikh, and he was a spiritual leader in his own kind of, path that they followed. And somebody asked the spiritual leader, they said that, so as you being a, spiritual leader, and what is it that makes you happy? And is it that you are waiting for them? Is it when they do the practices that makes you happy that you give them? And what he said was, what makes me happy is not so much the practice itself. He goes, the practice is part of it. He said, but is when I see them developing spiritually. Now when they're responding to situations differently. Before, when they would get caught out at home, when somebody would speak to them a certain way and they would justify their anger and everything else. And now I'm able to see that the practice they are doing, the meditation practices that this person gives them, that they are doing, they are now able to start seeing the fruits, and they're able to now change their whole way and being throughout the day. And he says, that's what it is for me when I see the progression spiritually. He said, it's not that he needs it, he's complete. Right? He says, I don't need that to happen for me to be anywhere else. I am where I need to be. But that's the whole point, is to see that in them. And that's why it's about we do the Bani in the morning, but that's the lesson. And then it's time to do now. And so when it comes to, so these are the things then we need to be checking in on ourselves to see if we are being freed, if we're being freed from these things. Then it would mean for us to be conscious of not praising somebody else directly in that way, because today now, even like, we didn't need the studies to show us that, because we've always spoke about this. I've only known about these studies in the last year or so. And I think even when we did the Slok Melanoma, there were some studies that are shared there as well, but these are different to then. But these studies have, it's not that we needed these, but it's always good to have another point of reference for people to be able to refer to. But it's showing that, why am I going to do something where it's going to set you off in the direction of where it's going to not allow you to grow? And when we say grow, we're talking about spiritually. And when others talk about growth, often in, like, we say in the worldly context, but they're often talking about outer success, external success, how far they've gone with work, how well they've done somebody's done in their exams, how much money they are making now. Yeah. So they might be looking at growth like that. I was speaking to my son this morning, and he was talking about exams and tests, and we're saying that, okay, say if you don't get the marks that you feel that you need to go on to wherever in your life. That could be to go into a certain school or have certain, opportunities that those results are going to provide you with. Is that how you would measure your success? I asked him. That only if you get those results, would you then class yourself to be successful? And it was a really amazing conversation. And the essence was that we spoke about where Guru Sahib is saying that, padya murkh akhiye, jit lab lobh hankara, jis lab lobh hankara, that just because you're educated, you could still be a fool, because you could still be stuck in lab, where your life for you is all about the pleasure of these senses. And that's what lab means, by the way. I don't think it's translated in this pankti. It's gone to greed and then pride, arrogant pride and egotism. Yeah. So, but lab means when your whole life is based around how much pleasure you can get through these senses. And so if you're stuck in that, you could be highly educated, but you've not been successful. You could reach the highest point of your career, but you're stuck in greed and thinking that you even need more to be okay. You've started to look down on other people. You've actually lost the game of life. And you've put all that time in to get to that position in life. A CEO or something, or wherever or whatever. There's another pankti I came across. The way I came across it was through Sahaj Path. And during that Sahaj, and that Sahaj Path, I ended up just opening my phone in the middle of the night. It's at 2 a.m. This is going back about a year ago, longer than a year. I had COVID and I had really high fever. And I was thinking, just meditate. But then I've just got the habit of reading something. So I thought, okay, I'm not going to read a random article, but I'll read some Sahaj Path. I opened up the phone. Even though my mind was saying just meditate, not the mind as such, but there's something deeper was just saying just meditate. But the mind was just so kind of in that loop of habit, just read something instead. And the pankti that came up was, let me see if I can remember it. It was, kathane kehne na chutti hai. Just because you could explain something well, and you might be able to do that. And just because you can speak well, kathane kehne na chutti hai, na pad pustak paar. But here Guru Sahib is talking about that you can't be saved just because you're a good speaker. You can't be saved just because you can explain something well. Kathne kehna na chutti hai, na pad pustak paar. And you're not saved and you're not liberated just from reading a whole load of books. But then Guru goes on to say, Kaya soch na paiye, bin har bhagat pyar. The only way you can be purified is with that devotion and love. Yeah. And so these are the things that are hindering us from being liberated, that we're not able to be free. Constantly waiting until you don't now say that. Like I said, there's feedback, there's letting somebody know that, keep doing the podcast this way because it works and it gets the message out well. And then that allows me to keep focusing on that, to getting that done. But if you start telling me you're amazing for what you do, yeah, that is now, I'm going to start living off that. And it's not going to allow me to grow. So, ustat ninda do tyag hai. There's so many things. And even then ninda, even then slander, when we hear that somebody's been talking about us, it really brings us down. And if it does, then we're not liberated yet. We're not free. So you might be free because you've got now certain choices, like we said. And you can now use your phone whenever you want. And you say, well, I'm free now. Yeah, I can go out whenever I want. Somebody will think, you know what? I couldn't do this, that, and the other because I was in this relationship, and now I've removed myself from that relationship. I'm free. Yes, they're free they're free in one aspect, but this freedom is a different type of freedom. No? So Manai Paaveh, Mokh Duaar. And Guru Sahib is saying those that now become completely in that mode of surrender to their core, and that core of listening that you're listening to something that is pure, that is love. And now you're not listening to these obsessive desires that I'm unconscious about. Now I'm not listening to the ego that is trying to protect itself and getting angry because of what someone is saying to it. I'm free now from that. It doesn't matter what you say to me with your words. I can understand that, it's what you're experiencing in life that is making you say that. And there's nothing there for me now to get hurt. And it's the identity that gets hurt. I'm free from all of that now. Yeah. Because everything starts from the ego, everything starts from the identity. Even when I feel the need to be praised, it comes from an identity. I'm a speaker. He needs to let me know how amazing I am as a speaker. And I'm just living off that now. I'm not free. Yeah. That isn't going to determine whether I'm feeling bliss or not. Yeah. So now coming on from there, Manai Parvaarai Saadhaar. Only when you're in that state of being free can you, without even making an effort, you naturally start to have this effect on your parvar. Parvar means family. And Saadhaar comes from the word Shuddh. Shuddh means pure, where even their ways start to become more pure. And there's a few ways of looking at that. For one, naturally, if I'm coming from that place, I'm not going to be self-centered anymore. It's not going to be all about me anymore. Because I'm free now. That ego is just not there. I understand that my ego is there as a means of serving, and it's got a purpose. And so when you come to talk to me now, I'm not going to be thinking I'm not going to be thinking about me there. It's all going to be about you in that moment. Guru Sahib say to us that mera kar viguta. When we're in that state of this is mine, how do we get to that point of this is mine? Like whatever relation you are to me, that you could be my son, but how do I get to that point of saying this is mine? First, there will be I am your dad, you're your father. Yeah, so there's that identity there. I become unconscious and I start identifying with that just becoming my only reality. And then you're mine. Because as a father, you're my son. Right? Waheguru's got nothing to do with it now. Forgotten Waheguru, forgotten the creator. It's out the window. I've done all of this. Yeah. And what happens from that place is that all I'm going to be thinking about is how you, as my son that belongs to me, should be speaking to me. Yeah. And in that way, it doesn't matter then. Just because I think I've now started following a certain way, a certain religion, and no matter how much I want you to do that, I can try and force that on you, of that way of living. I can even make you do some of the rituals. But that is so different to what Guru Sahib is saying here, Manai Parvaarai Saadhaar. So if we go back to Manai Parvaarai Saadhaar, so that is now so different to this. But that's where most people are. They make some changes in their life. They might stop drinking alcohol or something or another. The moment they do that, they might start going Gurdwara for a little bit. The moment they do that, they look at people around them in their family and they're thinking, I can't believe they are like that. Can't believe they are doing that. Yeah, and it could be not long ago when you was there as well, but you're not even understanding it. You're not even looking at it from how they are like that. And all you're thinking about now is that, well, they should be like this as well. They need to have this as well. Yes, it could come from that, where you want good for others. But then there's wanting good for others, and it comes from that desperate place. Because they're mine, they need to be now, they belong to me. They need to be doing this as well. But instead, it comes from, you're free now. And all that's coming out is this oozing love and compassion. But within love, there's no judgment as well. I'm not thinking, I can't believe you are like that. I can't believe you are speaking to me. I can't believe you did that. Being my son, I can't believe you lied to me. That's my identity speaking. That's not my compassion. That's because I've got a certain set of values for myself, and I'm not free. I've just got a certain set of values for myself, and now I'm putting them on you, and I can't take it that you've not lived by those values that I'm trying to live by. And so now it's killing me because of the mera. Kar. Vigutta means when you're ruined and you're not at peace. You're in this turmoil, and it's quite a strange one, isn't it? Like, if you think about this, because of a certain value that they live by, but they are allowing themselves to be in so much suffering because the other person isn't living by it. That means they're not free. They're saying that only if you live by it as well am I going to be okay. That's not freedom. ਉਹਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਫਸੇ ਆ, and ਉਹਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਮਾਰੇ ਬੰਧਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਆ. But this is something else. Manai Parvaarai Saadhaar. I'm free. I don't need anything from you. But there's only compassion for you. So now I'm just listening to you. I'm understanding you. I'm not thinking, but you're just speaking. There's love, compassion, there's patience. Yeah. That will start to have then an effect on you. This isn't guaranteed for everyone, because it depends on your karam as well. So it depends on how much load you've got and if there's a little opening within you. Yeah. If we go deeper, what it's saying here is Saadhaar, Parvaarai Saadhaar. Because what you're getting to experience in me now is something pure. So the only thing that is going to save you is that purity. And you open your heart to it. You open your heart to that purity and that you're experiencing in here, and you start being purified as well. Like I said, there are going to be those few cases where somebody's so closed and their karmic web is so heavy, it doesn't, even if you're coming from that place, there might be nothing, a complete shutdown from their other side. But it's okay because you're not even trying. You're just being what you are. But we're trying to get people to do something that we think we are, but we're not. It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're getting frustrated they're not being it. But we're not even that ourselves yet. And we just think we are because we've read about it or heard about it. Some will say Gurbani is deep, or we can just say Gurbani is the truth. Yeah. But truth has become deep because most of us are floating around at the top. I think it would be good just to let Sangat know they might come across other arth to this, and so that they don't get thrown off to say, because we're not giving any conviction to say this can only mean this. We're just trying to humble ourselves before the Guru's words. So Saadhaar can also be translated to support. That when you become free, Mokh, Duaar, when you've got that liberation within yourself, Parvaarai Saadhaar, you will naturally give others the support of God. You will let them become independent. Independent in which way? Independent where you allow them that space to realize that it's only God and it's only the light inside of them that can be of their true support, and that is going to make them feel complete. And you allow them to realize it's not anything external that's going to fulfill you. It's if you realize your very own essence, your jyot, you will just be in love as well. So they in such a natural, effortless way, they give them the support of God. Manai Paaveh Sikh. Because when you're free yourself and you are now, so these are all interlinked now. Tarai, your Tarai means you're saved. You can swim now. You're all good. You're not drowning anymore. Not drowning in anger, getting at one of your identities. You're cool. You're free. Yeah, you don't need the praise. The slander doesn't bother you anymore. Yeah, you're just free. Manai Tarai. And then Taare Sikh. You will naturally then, just people that are around you that have got some sort of openness about them. They might not have, and then the shift might come. And where you then naturally just help others to Taare, to teach them how to swim as well in this world of attachment. And then Sikh, where you connect them and where they become that disciple as well of the Guru, you can even look at it of Guru Nanak, who gives us that truth and then gives us connects us to that ultimate Guru whose voice is the same as Guru Nanak's, that is inside of us, because that is referred to the Guru as well. And some people will say, well, if Guru is spelt a certain way, then it's only referring to that particular Guru, the voice inside of you, but ultimately that's irrelevant if we were to be so technical, because the Guru's word the inside word is all the same anyway. So it doesn't matter who we refer to in that sense. Manai Nanak Paaveh na Bhikh. And those in that state of Manai, of complete surrender and devotion to that internal Guru, is they won't be Nanak, Guru Nanak Dev Ji saying, Bhaveh. Bhaveh means wandering, lost, and begging. Bhikh means begging. Meaning that when you're now connected, you won't go around, you won't need that need for running around to others to try and tell you, what do I do now? Keep getting, this situation keeps coming up. What do I do now? Yeah, there's a place for that. There's a time for that. When we put that forward to the Sangat or whoever, but this is talking about Manai, just pure connection. Yeah, you don't need to go around begging how to escape from your suffering anymore. You won't suffer anymore because you're following that. You're coming from that place, from that divinity is guiding you. So there's no need for you to go around begging from others that, and the thing is, we end up begging before those that are stuck themselves, often in time. That doesn't mean for people not to go and talk to someone. Yeah. But I would say even when you go and talk to someone, is be seeking to know the truth. That way then Waheguru is guiding you to give you the truth even through others, whoever you end up with. Yeah. There's so much we can just, each bhakti you can make it into a topic in its own self. But I think let's the other points that we've made our focal point in this. Let's allow that to speak out loud. Otherwise, if we just then make this into another topic, it'll just, I think drown that out. Aisa Naam Niranjan Hoye, such is the name of the Immaculate One. And that name is that current sound inside of us, that all-knowing intelligence that is just working and doing its thing perfectly without discriminating. It might not be what we like, the way it happens on that realm of, this, on that realm of matter, of things might not fold out the way we want them to fold out, but they're happening as the laws are set. And the spiritual game is all about Jeko man jane. Are we able to accept the way it's folding out and remain still from inside and not get caught? Man koi Guru Sahib says only very few minds that are able to do that, is to remain in that way of living, of not getting caught out in the non-acceptance to the way things are folding out. Yeah. We might say they are folding out the way they are meant to be. It's so important for people to understand. They are folding out accordingly to the ways of the Creator are, based on also the steps that we are taking. Are we able to accept our own steps the way they fold out? And that's the thing. And the way things around us are as well. There we have it. That's the Char Manne Diyan Paudiyaan, the 4 stanzas based on Manne, based on devotion. That devotion which is made up of surrender. that internal surrender, which doesn't mean to do nothing. It means that you're now operating from a very, very clear place, not based on your likes, dislikes, your traumas, just from a place of clarity. That's surrender. And that's where surrender takes you, to a clear space. And then plus there's that love. I like to always add that there's compassion there as well, because there's always that sense of wanting the good for others. Being in that state is where we would, when we get to that place, is when life becomes just this beautiful dance. So in the next session, we'll be moving on to Panch Parvan, and looking forward to what is Panch. I'm not going to spoil it now. You'll have to come back to find out what Panch is. What does it sound like? You can start thinking about it, start pondering on it. So there we go. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, share and subscribe. Please donate and help spread Guruji's message. Link is in the description below. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.